Hi Pisces, Sun, Moon, Ascendant, or Venus. This is Dane, and I'm going to be doing your September 2021 Mercury Retrograde reading for you. Now, I ask if this reading resonates with you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're interested in any of the cards that I'm using, they will be listed and linked in the description box below. Now, before we begin this reading, let us clear the energy space, raising our own energy vibration and releasing any negativity. So take a nice deep breath in, exhaling whenever it feels comfortable for you. Releasing all negativity from the body like storm clouds. Letting yourself feel calm, centered, and at peace as we enter into this safe and loving space. Let's let the bowls sing as we see what the tarot has to say. How will Pisces be affected by the September 2021 Mercury Retrograde? Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly. Angels and spirit guides. Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly. Angels and spirit guides. Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly. Angels and spirit guides. Angels, oh goodness, and spirit guides. There we go. Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly. Angels and spirit guides. Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly. At the bottom is our rooted self. The left-hand side is our inner self. The middle, our heart, our emotional self. The right-hand side, the public arena, the public self. So let's see what the cards have to say. At our root, we have the Wheel of Fortune. A lot of things are changing for us. We can feel a bit like during this Mercury retrograde that we're on a roller coaster ride, but that's okay, because we're embracing the Empress. We're embracing a power we forgot we had and a voice that we lost somewhere along the way. And we're finding ourselves stepping back into ourselves. And that's going to be really cool, no matter what season we have entered into. And it might not be our favorite season, but there's an element of change and there's an element of power and intention and purpose and thoughtfulness to us during this time that is really going to be beautiful. At our yes, in our inner self, we have the moon. Now, in this deck, which is the Witch's Wisdom deck, the moon is equivalent to the Empress. So we have the Empress coming through twice right here. But also in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, we're represented by the moon. So that element of us and the Empress is coming together, which I think is really, really beautiful. There's a sense of the mysterious coming forward. There's a sense of us facing a lot of fears, a lot of doubts, and finding our voice again. There is a huge thing during this Mercury retrograde where Mercury retrograde usually has the voice become confuddled and muddled. We're finding that it has us finding our voice, because when planets go into retrograde and what the planet rules, which again is our voice and speaking and thinking and contracts and travel and everything like that, we're finding ourselves looking at the chaos of it and finding what we truly need. It's like looking at all the nonsense and finding this little nugget of gold, this little beauty within all of this. And we're like, oh, that was what I was missing. And that's what this Mercury retrograde is about for us. It then moves us here to the Two of Air. We fill our lungs with the power of our own voice. And I love that. I love that for us, Pisces. Then we have, oh goodness, we have a lot here. We have the Knight of Wands, which is fire sign energy, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. If we're born on the cusp with Aries, or we have fire sign energy within our chart, that's coming through very powerfully here as a warrior for our voice, for our passion, for what we desire. The Five of Cups, we do have a tendency as a Pisces, and that's this is one of the things that we're born to overcome as a Pisces, is to change our minds and change our lives, to look at things that have fallen apart and say, okay, I see that it has fallen apart. I can't cry over spilt milk for the rest of my life. I just can't do that to myself, because we tend to take our failures very seriously, just as we take our successes very seriously. And we're always going to look to kind of dive deeper into it. So if it's our success, it's like, how can I repeat this? How can I dive deep into this? If it's failure, or what we perceive as failure, we're going to dissect the life out of that and never let ourselves really off the hook for what is perceived as a failure. So here, changing our minds and changing our lives, looking at the Two of Cups that stands behind us, the love, the healing, the unity, the coming together, that's going to be so important. It moves us to the Ace of Swords. This is God's source spirit, however you see the divine, the universe, handing us a gift of speech, of thoughts, of connection, of mind, of cutting through doubts and fears. It's handing us a gift in the element of Mercury. And so here it becomes very powerful. It's like we're cutting through something that has held us back. And it leads us to the Fool, and leads us to being able to take that jump, to take that leap, to go after what our heart desires. And then in the public arena self, it brings us to the Eight of Pentacles. Our hard work, our dedication, our discipline starts to pay off. The Four of Swords, well, we have to look at everything that we've been through. We have to let ourselves rest and recuperate and, pay homage to the journey that we have been on, not just think, well, I should have done that better. And then it gives us the gift of the Ace of Pentacles. Again, God's source spirit, however you see the divine, the universe, comes in and hands us a gift of prosperity and success and abundance and bounty. Now let us look at the energy we have to be mindful of during this time. What is the energy that Pisces needs to be mindful of during the Mercury retrograde? Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly. So it's going to be 2, which makes sense. So we have the King of Fire. This is fire sign energy, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. And we have the Princess of Pentacles, earth sign energy, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. What this is telling me is that we are water sign energies, right? And so we deal with more of the esoteric, we deal with more of the artistic, the spiritual. And what we're going to be really looking at is that we're really going to get involved with the earthly things, which is great. Being involved and evolving on the earth is really important, making sure that our feet are planted firmly on the ground and we know the way that we're moving forward. But this Mercury retrograde can have us having a bit of a hot temper and thinking that we're entitled to things, kind of like a princess mentality. Those people who you say, oh my gosh, they're such a princess. This is going to be the time where we can feel like, well, I'm entitled to that and I should be able to have it and I should be able to do this. And it's just a frustration that's coming out through the chaos of Mercury retrograde and that sense of not feeling as if our voices are being heard, and that we're going to say, well, you know what, I'm just going to take it. And what we're going to see here is that, yeah, we can just take it. But what we need to do is look at the seeds that we're planting, why we're planting them, what we're moving forward toward, what it is that we desire, what it is that we want, what it is that we're building for, and look at that with honor and respect for ourselves. We're also going to be drawn to people who are a bit of princesses. Now we could, actually wind up having a relationship with somebody who really thinks that the more money we spend on them, the better the relationship is, which doesn't actually make sense. And we can also be drawn to people with a bit of a temper, oh, you didn't get me what I wanted, so I'm going to throw this hissy fit. And you would think of this maybe in the line of a feminine energy, but this can also very well be a masculine energy too. So we have to be very mindful of the way that we're expressing ourselves during this time, in the way that we're taking things, if we're taking things a little bit too personally, to kind of step back and say, you know what, I know it is this retrograde coming forward. I know it is the fact that, energy and everything that I'm saying, everything that I'm thinking is a little bit more intense during this time. Let us see our chakra energy. Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly. Angels and spirit guides, angels. We have play. I love this card. It is the heart chakra. And the really interesting thing about humans is that we cannot play if we do not feel safe. So there is a sense of, if we say, oh my gosh, I haven't laughed like this in years or in the longest time, that means that we haven't felt safe. We haven't played like this. I haven't felt safe. I haven't felt in my own. And so here it's opening our hearts to play. It's opening ourselves to be able to embrace the beauty and the complexity and the joys of life and living and self and desires. And it moves us to this Mercury retrograde. It moves us to the world opening up to us, because this Mercury retrograde is like no other. It's a more positive Mercury retrograde, but it also comes with all the complexities and all the heartbreaks and all the, agita of Mercury retrograde. So Mercury retrograde sees technology breakdowns. It sees us kind of breaking down in and of ourselves. We can get really frustrated with things, angry, upset, take things kind of to the next level. It brings nervousness, anxiety, travel delays. We can find ourselves always just running a little bit late, or even if we're not running late, people around us are running late. We're on time for things. The meeting doesn't start until 5, 10, 15 minutes later. We're going to find that to be astoundingly frustrating, rude, whatever it is. We're going to have intense reactions to things. That's really what I'm seeing for you, especially Pisces, during this time. And it's going to be really important to kind of step back from those intense reactions and not just react to something, to kind of step back and say, you know what, I'm taking it a bit slow. This Mercury retrograde is a complex time. I'm taking it slow during this time, and I'm embracing self-care. I'm embracing, stepping into my body. I'm going to take this time to meditate. I'm going to take this time to read a book. I'm going to take this time to listen to some music. Whatever it is to center myself, that's what I'm going to do. We also tend to lose things, and it can be really frustrating because it can be right in plain sight, and yet we'll be looking for it everywhere. That happened to me today. We lost the remote control, and I was tearing apart everything, and it was right where we had looked. It was under something. It was under like the hassock or something like that, and we had looked there 18 million times, and then it was just there. So it can be really frustrating, but know that that's part of Mercury retrograde. And we're close to Mercury retrograde. We're in a shadow period, and that energy is just intense. So be mindful of that. Now, Mercury retrograde happens 3 to 4 times a year. Luckily this year it's only 3 times. We're at the last Mercury retrograde. It lasts for about 24 days. We can find ourselves during Mercury retrograde really dwelling on things. We can become a bit obsessive. Also, we can dwell on the past, thinking, things were better when, or we can also have thoughts of the past and people who have hurt us, people who have wronged us, things that have not gone our way, come up and really be intense, really be hurtful, harmful to us, like really bring down our energy vibration. So do be mindful, because with Mercury retrograde, it's all about the energy vibration. It's all about how we're embracing what we want, what we need, how we're moving forward. Double check all your emails before sending them out, all your posts before posting them, everything, the post that you send out in the mail. Double check everything during this time, because we can have a tendency to be very reactionary. I see this a little bit more for you, Pisces, than not other. Some signs were just as reactionary, but there's going to be a sense here of just kind of like needing to say it, needing to purge it, and we could need to purge it. Get angry, write it in a letter, don't send it out. Write it down and leave it, like read over it, and then say, well, you know what, I'm really good. I got that anger out. I really see where that came from, but I'm not controlled by it anymore. I'm purging it. I'm letting it go. If you can avoid signing contracts during this time or doing anything really big, do so. If you can't, make sure that it's looked at through multiple eyes, or make sure again that you put things to the side, look at it again, have a lawyer who can look it over, somebody who can recheck and look at everything. That's going to be really important. Now, the first shadow period of Mercury retrograde began on the 6th of September. Now, what this means is that there is an issue coming up around Mercury that is controlled by Mercury, right? Thinking, speaking, contracts, travel, everything is controlled by Mercury, because everything is around our thoughts, the way we speak, the way we understand, the way we communicate to ourselves. That item that has come up that we were thinking about, worrying about, that's going to play out during Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde begins on the 27th of September, lasts to the 18th of October. Now, the planetary alignment of Mercury retrograde is going to be all in the full moon readings that I have done. So if you want to check those out, I just don't want to overwhelm you guys with so much information that it becomes too much. If you want to check out the planetary alignment, it's all in the beginning of the full moon readings. Check those out, see how it connects with you. We're going to talk about the star alignment within this video. So Mercury is going to be conjunct the fixed star Arcturus. What Arcturus brings us is obtaining power through justice. It's power through justice. This brings riches, this brings esteem, this brings determination. And what happens is that we can really find lasting success within this energy if we keep a high energy vibration. If we keep a low energy vibration, we can find ourselves really being overwhelmed because we're looking at the win. And I can see this within our hearts. We really feel like, I have to win, I have to succeed, I have to, just keep moving. And we're kind of going to beat ourselves up over things that we've stumbled with, things that haven't worked out the way that we envisioned them. Be kind to yourself. That is going to be the most important thing for you, Pisces, during this Mercury retrograde. Self-care, self-esteem, connecting with the self. Not saying that this, we could feel like this is egotistical, but it's not. This is a sense of saying, I matter. I get to take care of me. I matter. I get to be a part and be within my heart, my soul, and my desires. Mercury conjunct the fixed star Spica comes into play also during this time. And the star brings us success, renown, riches, fames, and just niceness. It brings niceness to people, which is really important. Our world needs more kindness, needs more niceness from people. But remember, this is all two differing extremes, right? Not everybody's going to have a red carpet rolled out for them, people shouting their names. Not everybody's going to be super nice. There are really nice people, they're going to be nicer. There are really curmudgeon-y people, they might be not as curmudgeon-y. You might think, oh, that's a person's a little bit more palatable, but I still don't like them. It's just going to be to this different extents. Now, that also is in alignment with Arcturus, because when it brings riches and esteem and determination, that's to differing effects and extents. There we go. That's the word that I'm looking for. Now, with Spica, okay, so this brings us that success, that renown, that riches, that fame, that sense of niceness to us, but it also brings us love for the arts and for science and for discovery. But it's hard for those of us who are a bit kinder, a bit more innocent of nature, like who don't have that harshness from the world. Like, even though the world might have knocked us down, kicked us in the teeth, there's still a kindness, there's still a compassion to us that you could call it maybe empathy, empathic nature to this person, to us during this time. And this can make it really hard because Spica is all about aligning yourself with power. And really, really nice people. Nice guy finishes last. That's a saying for a reason. If you're too nice, you're not going to be as ruthless as others, or you're just not going to see the purpose of getting into this, saying I have to succeed to this surreal point, and it becoming more and more and more successful all the time. It doesn't mean that we're not going to excel in things or become successful or be successful. What it means is that it's not at any cost that we're going to embrace this success. So be mindful of this during this time, because we can feel ourselves getting upset because we want to move forward with things a little bit more gently, and people are going to be a little bit vicious and use our words against us and play word games, and communications can kind of break down during this time, and so other people can take credit for what we ourselves have done, and that's going to be something that we need to fight against during this time, letting resentment and hurt and anger kind of move forward, because we do have this tendency towards this in the energy to be mindful of. Now, Spica also brings this sense of increased intuition and psychic power. So if you are learning to read the cards, or if you are reading the cards or runes or anything like that, just connecting with yourself spiritually, psychically, this is a great time to do it. And this is a great time to embrace this kind of androgynous spiritual energy that people really, really like, because Spica enhances this during this Mercury retrograde, or just Spica itself enhances this. This is also a great time for scientists, writers, artists, and anybody who is an innovator. Now, Mercury is going to be stationary direct. Now, when Mercury becomes stationary direct, there we go, on the 18th of October to the 2nd of November. The planetary alignments for this time is going to be Mercury sextile Venus. Now, this is the shadow period. This is the second shadow period for Mercury. When Mercury sextile Venus, this brings a charming, compassionate, soothing energy that makes us feel good. It's like, oh, okay, I'm stepping into this brilliance. I'm following what I love. It's time to follow peace. It's time to set down roots around our loves and our joys and our hopes and our dreams and our wishes. It's like, this is a time to sprout our roots within beauty, like sprout our seeds within beauty. Mercury is going to be trine Saturn, which brings us determination and achievement around tackling tasks that we once felt overwhelmed by. The star alignment for this time is Mercury conjunct the fixed star Vindamatrix. Now, Vindamatrix is a tricky star, and we have to be really mindful of this. If we come to Vindamatrix with a low energy vibration, it will absolutely take advantage of this and bring us melancholy, hastiness, and an impulsive energy, just impulsiveness. We're going to be like, I just have to get it done. We're going to feel sad, rather nihilistic. Life doesn't have any meaning. It all ends the same way anyway. Why do I even care? That's what we have to fight against. So the way to fight against Vindamatrix energy is to understand that Vindamatrix draws us to the darker, more macabre aspect of life. Make sure that we're not watching true crime. That make sure that we're not watching intense murder mysteries. Make sure that we're not watching, horror. That's going to be really, really important to raise our energy vibration, to keep ourselves in a happy place. Watch things that make us laugh. Watch things that, make us, if we need to watch murder mysteries, if we really like them, watch cozy murder mysteries. Read a cozy murder mystery book. Something like, Murder, She Wrote, or Columbo, or a more modern one could be Broken Wood. And it's like, enjoy the mystery, enjoy like the kind of sleuthing it out without the gruesomeness, without the lowness of them, the macabre, the base terrible aspect of human nature. Okay, that's going to be really important. Mercury is going to be conjunct also the fixed star Parima. Now, if we come to this with a high energy vibration, Parima feels like a superpower because it helps us to see the underhanded side of people without being drawn into it. It's like, I see you, I see you're lying, you're cheating, you're stealing, I see it. And I'm just aware of it now. So I'm not going to have to, even really be reactionary towards it. It's like I'm not being pulled into your trap. And that's really, really cool. Now, if we don't come to this with a high energy vibration, if we come to it with a lower energy vibration, we will feel worried and we will feel as if no matter how hard we work, everything's just going to fall apart anyway. That's that very nihilistic energy coming forward once again. The Wheel of Fortune during this time, everything is changing. We can feel like this Mercury retrograde turns everything on its head. The direction we thought we were going is not necessarily the direction that we're heading during this time, but we embrace the twists and the turns and the changes and the intensity and the complexity. And it brings us to claiming our throne and claiming our voice and finding this power and embracing the contradictory nature that is our spirit, our soul, and ourselves, our power, our intuition, our desire. And we see ourselves more and more, pushing the boundaries, pushing the limits, understanding that we're not just one thing. And this is saying that there is power within us. Even if we haven't seen it, even if we didn't think of it, we're starting to see it now. And we're starting to claim that throne. We're starting to claim our voice. Again, we're starting to claim the power in the contradiction of our nature and our desires. The moon leads us to, again, claiming that power, to embracing the beauty and the intensity and the complexity of our voice. Not everything is going to be seen. A lot of things are going to be felt. A lot of things are going to be, my intuition says. A lot of things are going to be, this is what feels right to me. And we need to kind of go with that. So often we're told to ignore our gut. We're told to ignore our instincts until that voice that guides us, that voice that can really help us within us, falls away. And that's when we sit there and say, well, there was a part of me that said I shouldn't do that, but I did it anyway because that's what everybody else was doing, or this is what seemed right. And it was miserable. I felt miserable. I knew I had made the wrong decision instantaneously. And now we're starting to hear that voice again. We're starting to sing to that voice. We're starting to connect with what one might say was a more primal aspect of us, but it's that truer aspect of stepping into our soul, our body, our being, our instincts, our desires, and we're embracing our voice. It's going to be really important inwardly to embrace our voice, to embrace our desires, to embrace what we want, what we need, how we're moving forward, how we're pushing the boundaries, what do we want from our life, and how does that impact our voice? How are we saying what we desire? Are we just saying things to say like, oh yeah, one day I'll do this, oh yeah, one day I'll do that, and just giving it lip service and not following through? This is also a need to follow through, to see it become in the waking world. In our emotional self, we're charging forward. We want things. We want things to change. We want things to move. We want things to become, because we're tired. We're tired of seeing what isn't instead of the beauty of the connection of the unity of what is. And so as we embrace our fiery nature, as we embrace our determination and our focus and our passion and our insight, we see ourselves charging towards something bigger, something greater than we had seen before. We see ourselves embracing ourselves and what we want and what we need and what we desire from our lives. And that moves us to changing our minds and changing our whole entire lives. This is going to be a time where, if we've been thinking of doing kind of a big life change, even though Mercury retrograde says not to really tackle anything big, this is where we start. Either we decide, you know what, I'm just going to go for it, I'm just going to jump all in, or we start to say, you know what, I'm going to look, I'm going to see, I'm going to discover, I'm going to push the boundaries and the limits and understand what I want. Because the I becomes very important. It's not the selfish, egotistical I. It's not the ego taking over. It's the sense that this is my life. This is my world. This is how I live it and how I embrace it and how I get to be what I want to be within my life. And as we do this, God, Source, Spirit, however we see the divine, the universe, cuts through so many doubts and fears and negative thoughts and negative words that we have within us. It gives us this weapon. The sword is the only weapon within the tarot. And it's the sword that aligns us with the power of Mercury. And what we're going to see here is that this time gives us insights. It gives us ideas. We start to say things that ring very true with us. We start to cut through doubts and fears and negativities and hurts and pains and disappointments and the cobwebs that stuck us and held us back and made us deny ourselves or think that we couldn't be. And now we start to say, I'm going to take that leap of faith. I'm going to go after what my heart needs. Yes, there is chaos of emotion, but by taking that leap, we follow that rainbow. We see something beautiful. We get to embrace the message of change. This has been calling to us for so long that as we answer this call now, it almost feels like we're coming home. Instead of going off on this like a grand adventure and the scariness of the unknown, it's like, oh, but this is where I'm meant to be. It's like, oh, but this is me, isn't it? And as we say, this is me, we start to see in the public arena everything that we've worked so hard for, everything that we've created and sculpted and, tweaked and gained, artistic talent to, and gained this insight of soul and desire. Even if we're not artistic people, we start to see ourselves creating and cultivating something amazing. And as we create and cultivate it, we see our hard work paying off. We see the way that we've tweaked things. We see the way that we've changed things. We see the way that we've stepped into our own power, our own wisdom, our own heart, our own soul, and our own self. We start to see the time and the effort paying off. And the thing is, people start to see it too. They might not mention it to you, but they start to see it. People start to take note. And with the Four of Swords, this isn't the time to push ourselves to the absolute limit, no, or even close to it. This is a time to step back. This is a time, especially within the public arena, to rest and to look at how far we've come and how much we've been through and give ourselves honor, pay homage to who we are and what we've developed and where we're headed and why we're headed there, and understand the complexity of our past and how that affects, the brilliance of our future, but also the brilliance of our presence. With the Ace of Pentacles, this is luck. This is, planting seeds. This is joy. This is, again, a gift from God, Source, Spirit, however you see the divine, the universe, of prosperity, of roots, of abundance, of, bounty leading us forward. We get to see this. We get to see things sprouting into greatness. We get to see ourselves sprouting into greatness. And there's a sense of just prosperity being around us. Even if others aren't seeing it, it's like, I know that I can open up this door. I know that there's something more, growing within me, embracing me, guiding me, and leads us to our subconscious energy to be mindful of. And that's the Chariot. It's just letting our emotions charge off without any thought. We can tend to overthink, yes, but then we're going to tend to go to a different extreme where we think, okay, just go for it. The subconscious and the conscious not coming together, the sense of a discord within ourselves, but just saying, I have to move, I have to go. This is also Cancer energy. So we do need to be mindful of that if that is within our natal chart. We're also going to be very drawn to people who have this tendency towards action. It doesn't matter what they're acting towards. It doesn't matter if they're acting out of anger or selfishness or just to act, just to move in general. We're going to be very drawn to people who are getting things done or who we perceive are getting things done. It moves us to our subconscious chakra energy, which is grounding. We need to ground ourselves. Now, this could be walking outside in bare feet or barefoot shoes. This could be sitting outside in the sun, grounding ourselves to the earth, connecting with the earth, eating food that comes from our gardens, connecting or eating, food that comes from the farmer's market, connecting with the earth in just this powerful, beautiful way is going to be so important to us. Looking at how we're nurturing ourselves. Are we nurturing ourselves the way that we want to be growing at this time? A lot of times we learn how to care for ourselves, right, or what we need, but then we don't take into account how we're changing as individuals. And so we could have been a cactus at one time if we're going to use a plant analogy, and now we're becoming a mighty oak, and those do not need the same soil at all. So we have to be mindful of that. We then have our subconscious rooted self, and excuse me, as I sneeze, our subconscious rooted self is the sun. This is the happiest card in the whole entire deck. This is beauty and intensity and complexity, and this is absolutely being radiant. Let yourself be radiant. People will take you by eyes. Absolutely. They see a brilliance to you. This is at your root. You don't fully see it yourself because we never do. But as we embrace who we are, as we step more and more into ourselves, we shine. We just shine. So people are going to try and knock us down because, they feel like, why should you succeed and I not? Why should you be happy and I'm miserable? Let yourself shine. Let them be who they are. Let yourself shine. It moves us to our inner selves, our subconscious inner selves, and that's the world. Now, this is the Fool in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and the world is what we once knew has burnt away. It isn't anymore, and now we move forward on our journey. We say the past is over and done with. It is a country that we can never visit again, and our future is a country yet to be explored. And where we are right now in our present is part of our journey, part of our success, part of our power. Let us look at the steps that we take. Let us look at the power that is ourselves, and let us move in that power, in that intention, in that grounding of understanding and being. We have this need to become more during this time. And what's so glorious is that we are becoming more, and that is intensely beautiful. This sense on going on the journey that we were made to go on, that we were born for, that becomes everything for us. Our subconscious emotional self is the Nine of Wands. It's not about listening to everybody else. It's not about trying to make everybody else happy. It's not about the walls that we have built around us. It is about standing in our own power, standing in our own understanding, and saying, this is me. We're breaking down the walls that we've built to protect ourselves. We're not listening to everybody. We're saying, there is an intense understanding to me. I've walked through this battle. I've seen this world. I understand. But what's more is I understand myself. I understand my intention and my power, and I have a bit of a headache, and I feel sore and overwhelmed, but I'm not holding back from my dreams and my desires. Our subconscious public arena self is the Seven of Swords. Here it says betrayal. The Seven of Swords is knowing when we need to gather up our information, gather up what we desire, and leave behind the rest. It can be that betrayal has shaped how we move forward and what we want and what we desire and what we're seeing. But it is also that we've become wiser, and not everybody is open and honest, and not all secrets need to be revealed. We are moving forward. Subconsciously, especially in the public arena, we realized that it wasn't what we initially thought it was when we were teenagers, when we were entering into this world, when we looked at adults, as kids, as teenagers, and thought, oh my gosh, they have all the answers, or they have it all easy. Now we're starting to see the complexity of it, or we've already known the complexity of it. And we're taking that knowledge and we're taking that wisdom and we're guiding ourselves forward. We're saying there's more here than meets the eye. And I'm well armed to deal with the betrayals and the hurts and the pains that come their way. But some I don't need to carry anymore because they don't serve a purpose. All right. All right, Pisces. I hope this reading has resonated with you. I wish you nothing but light, love, peace, and happiness. May harmony always be with you. I am sending loving, healing energy to each and every one of you. I love you all, and stay safe. Let's end this reading with a meditation, a clearing away of negative energy, a raising of our positive energy as we embrace the power, the beauty, and the complexity of this Mercury retrograde. So take a nice deep breath in, exhaling whenever it feels comfortable for you. May you move forward in peace and in harmony, Pisces, and may you have a blessed Mercury retrograde.